You're listening to the Telltale channel. Don't forget to check me out on all social media: Patreon, Twitter, Teespring, and Etsy. All links can be found in the description or on my website, telltaleatheist.com. So the next article I want to take a look at is entitled "Glenn Beck Explains What Made Him Change His Mind About Trump." This is on Right Wing Watch, and it's by Kyle Mantilla. Glenn Beck spent the entire 2016 election cycle warning that Donald Trump was crazy, a dangerous psychopath, and the biggest flaming ass that you could possibly imagine. Interesting verbiage there. When other conservatives endorsed Trump, Beck was furious and wondered how they could even sleep at night. Throughout the campaign, Beck steadfastly refused to support Trump, insisting that Jesus Christ himself would tell Beck not to support him because doing so would be disloyal to God. That's interesting. Glenn Beck is actually a Mormon. I'm sure a lot of you guys probably knew that. He's on Blaze TV, I think. In fact, that may even be Glenn Beck's network. Like, he may own that, Blaze TV. It's like a podcast network and possibly a TV network, or like a TV segment on Fox or something like that. But he's an extreme Mormon and very, very religious and very far right-wing. He espouses far-right, extreme conspiracy theories a lot. Let's continue reading. Despite the fact that Trump's first term in office has proven that just about every one of Beck's warnings were accurate, Beck announced last year that he now supports Trump and intends to vote for him in November. So did God lie to him? Did Beck lie about hearing God's voice? Tell him not to support Trump? There's a disconnect here. What happened? During Trump's speech during the Republican National Convention last Thursday night, Beck expressed his regrets for the things he said about Trump during the 2016 campaign and followed that up on his radio program Friday by explaining what caused him to change his mind. Let's give the video a watch and see what he said about it.
I felt so bad about what I said, how I said things in 2016, and I've been feeling this way for a couple of days during this convention. And I just feel like I need to apologize to his children because I can't imagine. I mean, I just had Donald Trump Jr. on with us, and I can't imagine. He acted like we were old friends. I can't imagine they didn't have several conversations about me at the dinner table.
Honestly, I don't think he's that important. I don't think many people really give a shit about his opinion. And also, being a public figure comes with being attacked. That's just that's par for the course. That's what happens. That's how it works. Even if there isn't anything to attack you over, which in this case there definitely is. Donald Trump is a complete piece of trash. But even if there wasn't, they'll come at you over something. They'll fabricate things sometimes. Just this massive mob of people, of hundreds of thousands, millions of people, all have their own ideas and opinions and thoughts about you and who you are and what you stand for and what you believe and everything else. It's impossible to avoid this stuff. So generally speaking, I would say this is a lesson I learned pretty early on in my YouTube career. People will come at you about just about anything. Donald Trump and his kids probably know that that's true. Now, the outrage is justified in that case with Donald Trump and his kids, but they've probably become very adept at tuning out the criticisms at this point.
On some of the things that I said. And I really regret it because I do think publicly, Twitter and everything else, I think the guy is out of control and doesn't care, enjoys it. But I think privately, he's a different guy because his children love him. And I don't believe, like, for example, Ivanka is a psychopath.
Okay, that's interesting. I agree. Donald Trump does seem to enjoy chaos. Like, he revels in chaos, weirdly. He tries to create chaos anywhere he can, and then he blames that chaos on, like, his enemy, his sworn enemy, which in this case happens to be Democrats. But his enemy changes from time to time. He will name specific people. Biden is his enemy, for example. Anything Donald Trump can do to cause chaos and blame it on his enemy, he'll do. It's black and white, us versus them, good versus evil thinking. And his cult members are following that and picking up on it and learning that mindset, which is really disturbing and depressing. No matter what, about 60 to 65 million people in the United States of America are probably going to vote for Trump. It's going to be close, but it will be in that range somewhere. I'd say between 40 and 80 million people. That's scary that there are people out there who are adopting this mindset that Donald Trump is perpetuating and wants people to have. It's disturbing to know that there are at least minimum like 40 million people out there who look at the behavior of this guy and say, yeah, I like that. I'm okay with it at the very least. I'll vote for it again. I think he deserves another run. That's disturbing. Now, I don't know what happens behind closed doors. I don't know if the guy inside really is a good guy, genuinely. I don't know what he thinks to himself when the lights are off at night. I don't know. But what I see from him, what he's displaying for the world, what he's setting an example as, is fucking horrific.
And how is it Ivanka loves him and all of his children love him as much as they do if he's a psychopath in real life? He's not.
The word psychopath is kind of loaded. First of all, I said this before, it's possible that his kids are putting on a show. It's possible that they just want their dad to be reelected because they know if he loses the election, they're all going to go to jail. I mean, that's a possibility. It's a possibility. So it's possible that they want their voting bloc, the evangelical Christians, to think that they are a fully functional, healthy family that love each other. And they think that that's their route to the White House, their next route to the White House. And it's possible that behind closed doors, Trump really is a psychopath. I don't know. I'm not a therapist. I'm not even really a psychologist. I mean, I went to school for a psychology degree, but I'm actually technically a college dropout. I dropped out after a couple of years. So I can't speak to this. I don't know what's inside the guy's head, but I can tell you what psychopathy is. Psychopathy and sociopathy are closely linked, but different. The idea behind psychopathy is the fact that people who have psychopathy lack an ability to feel empathy for other people. They are incapable of putting themselves in other people's shoes. Somewhere in our evolutionary chain, humans were hunter-gatherers, right? So the hunters would go out and they would find a great big animal and they would try to capture it. But they were alone. There's just one of them trying to capture this big animal, right? At some point in time, at some point in our evolutionary history, we gained the ability to build models in our heads of scenarios. We gained vision, basically. So we could talk to our friend and we could tell them, hey, if you go over there and I go over there, and then this guy over here spooks the animal, it will either run into me or it will run into you, one of the two. So if we stand in one of these two places, we can corner the animal and capture it and keep it. That was a major evolutionary breakthrough. The ability to build models in our heads, the ability to see things in our minds before it happened, basically. And that is the basis for empathy. That's where it came from, the ability to build models in our heads like that. And empathy is the basis for modern morality. We can picture ourselves in somebody else's shoes. We can picture ourselves experiencing the things that they are experiencing or the things that they may experience. That's the basis for morality, is empathy. If we don't have empathy for people, then we are fully capable of acting in disgusting, immoral ways toward them. The fact that the Republican Party has mostly been opposed to improving inner city conditions, or it at least hasn't been on their radar, or the fact that it's made up of a lot of really racist people, is a sign that the Republican voting bloc isn't really taking empathy into consideration. They're not building those models in their heads to try to put themselves in other people's shoes. To bring it back to the Glenn Beck thing, that's the problem with people who have psychopathy. They are incapable of feeling empathy. They can stick a knife in somebody's chest and not understand why that's wrong. Like, somebody can explain it to them, but if I did that, I would cringe. I would be like, oh, that's awful. I can't do this. I can't deal with it. It's terrible. Imagine me being in that situation. People who have psychopathy or sociopathy are incapable of doing that. They're incapable of putting themselves in that position. And you can see the progression. You can see signs and patterns from people who actually have psychopathy and sociopathy. It starts off with small things, maybe pulling the legs off of a spider. And then they go to harming small animals and things like that as time progresses, as they get older. Psychopathy is a serious mental condition and should not be downplayed or underestimated. A very small portion of the U.S. population actually has psychopathy. I think it's around 4%. I could be wrong. But not applying empathy and not being capable of feeling empathy are two different things. The entire evangelical voting bloc isn't incapable of feeling empathy. Like, they can feel empathy. They just don't apply it in a lot of cases in which they should. So is Donald Trump a psychopath? I don't know. It's possible he is. That's possible. I've seen signs of that based on the fact that he almost never displays a shred of empathy for anybody. But a true psychopath is fully incapable of feeling empathy. So seeing signs that Trump feels empathy for people and it being genuine, that would be a sign that he's not actually a psychopath. Like I've said before, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not Donald Trump's psychologist. I have no way of knowing if he has psychopathy or not. But those are my 2 cents on it. Either way, there's a problem with him not showing empathy to certain people. And that's bad enough. He may as well be a psychopath for all intents and purposes. Whether he is or not, what he's doing is harmful and, in effect, is displaying signs that he is a psychopath. So that's really what matters ultimately.